Hey everyone, Chuck here. In this video, we're going to look at the generic 5 steps that make up the sales and operations process here. So let me do a screen share here, and we'll bring up a whiteboard using OneNote here and kind of take you through it. So typically when we look at the 5-step process, when we're looking at it, step number 1 is typically going back and doing an analysis of last month's sales performance. Okay. Now, the reason we're doing that is we're going back and we're looking at, well, how did our customers do? Who hit the targets and the forecast, who didn't, who exceeded it, etc. Because when we get to step 2 in the process, what we're going to be doing in step 2 is to update the demand forecast. Now, if you remember, S&OP is a process that tries to bring harmony and balance to supply and to demand, because before that we didn't, and we just went off and did our own thing, and then we started hooting and hollering at each other for, why don't you make what we're selling, and why don't you sell what we made, and all that kind of stuff. So this is a process to bring everybody into harmony here. So we do, sales is doing a analysis of how they performed last month, and then we're updating the demand. Now, comment I would add personally is, if I'm smart, I mean, it depends on my company. We typically don't teach it as the 5 main steps, but I'm also doing the same thing on the supply side. Is I want to do an analysis of, last month's performance, both internally, my manufacturing process, how I supplied parts, and how well my suppliers performed also. Because if the forecast changes, the demand forecast changes in step 2, then in step 3, excuse me, we have to update our supply plan. Okay, so that we make sure we can support step 2 where we updated the forecast. It's much easier to update the supply plan if we know how we performed internally and understand it, as well as with our suppliers. So step 1, analysis, how we did last period. Then we update the demand in step 2, which drives us to update the supply plan in step 3. And then finally in step 4, we're going to have a pre-S&OP meeting between the supply and the demand folks, typically another level up in the organization, where we're going to hammer out any disagreement points and prep for the final S&OP meeting. So it's in this step 4 here that we're building the agreement between S&OP, and we're making sure we got harmony and balance, and that we can support the demand plan. The demand plan is realistic. If there's any inventory issues or space issues or logistics, whatever, let's hammer those out. Because in step 5, we're going to go to the S&OP meeting itself, the executive S&OP meeting, where we're, so to speak, going to bless the plan. We're going to agree to the plan, make sure everybody's on the same page. This is going to be our orders going forwards, as well as we may have to address any strategic issues that arise in the process, from a long-term basis. The expectation is in step 4, managers, directors, etc., they're going to hammer out, wherever there's imbalances in supply and demand, and solve those. If it truly can't long term, because it's a big strategic issue, we're going to bring that to step 5 also. So step 5 is where we kind of bless the plan, make sure everybody's in agreement with it, as well as tackling any S&OP issues. Now, all this becomes important because it's a major process to make sure everybody stays on the same page, kind of rowing the boat in the same direction. And, if you think about it now, the impact of that is a very successful and meaningful process, because everybody agrees. We're all kind of marching towards the same goal, and we're working on the things that support that, and ensuring that we're not kind of going in 2 different directions here as an organization.